Hello fellow aviators, welcome back to Aliong'o Aerosphere, your hub for African aviation insights, from technology and market trends to careers and investment opportunities. Join us in exploring the future of African skies. In today's video, we'll look back at 2025 and how it unfolded for African aviation and why it actually mattered. Now let's begin with passenger demand. One of the biggest stories of 2025 was the clear rise in passenger traffic. Now, African Airlines were projected to carry around 113 million passengers in 2025, and that was up from 98 million in 2024, an increase of more than 15%. Now, demand growth was visible throughout the year. In May of 2025, African carriers recorded a 9.5 year-on-year rise in passenger demand, with a load factor close to 75%. Now, by October of 2025, international demand rose another 7.3%, with load factors around 74.1%. Now, this recovery signaled renewed confidence in African air transport, both for business, travel, and tourism. Now, let's turn into partnerships, another major highlight of 2025, which basically was that push for strong airline cooperation. Now, for example, TAG, that's the Angolan Airlines, and South African Airways strengthened African connectivity through a new partnership aimed at boosting tourism flows and regional travel efficiency. Now, another one, we have Airlink and Turkish Airlines signed a major agreement effective August 1st of 2025, which linked Airlink's Southern African network with Turkish Airlines' global reach of over 300 international destinations. But as always, there was something that doesn't go as planned. So there was a planned Pan-African alliance between Kenya Airways and South African Airways, which never materialized after the South African Airways withdrew earlier in the year. So this was part of 2025. Leadership and management changes. Now, in 2025 also marked major leadership developments across the continent. Now, for example, let's go to Kenya Airways. In December of 2025, the CEO, Alan Kilavuka, stepped down after 6 years in charge. And then the operations officer, George Kamal, was appointed acting CEO as the airline began searching for a permanent successor. Ethiopian Airlines continued representing stability and expansion as the biggest airline in Africa. Now, the CEO, that's Mesfin Teseu, maintained leadership of the airline long-term vision to 2025 strategy, strengthening its global footprint. And this was an update from 2025 vision of Ethiopian Airlines. Now, his role was recognized with the International Aviation Industry Awards in 2025. That is the CEO of Ethiopian Airways, Mr. Mesfin. Now, AFCAC leadership, AFCAC, remember, is the African Civil Aviation Commission, reaffirmed leadership continuity. Now, the Secretary General, that's Ms. Adefunki Adeyemi, began her second term, continuing efforts to improve safety and integration of African air transport from 2025 to 2028. Global representation, we saw the Rwanda Air CEO Yvonne Makolo continue serving as the chair of the IATA Board of Governors, supporting aviation development across Africa. Now let's go to industry events. What happened in 2025 for African aviation industry events? Now, we have a few important aviation gatherings that took place. For example, the Aviation African Summit and Exhibition in Kigali brought together top airline executive, regulators, manufacturers to discuss infrastructure, safety, and aviation growth. More than industry leaders convened here to share plans and future strategies at this flagship event for sure. Now, on the sidelines of this summit, the African Civil Aviation Commission, AFCAC, basically hosted again a high-level coordination meeting with ministers and civil aviation chiefs to push forward these shared priorities on the single African air transport market. So this took place at the same time as the African Aviation Summit and Exhibition, which occurred in Kigali. Now, later in the year, the Africa Aviation Innovation Summit took place in Kenya, focusing industry attention on innovation, digital information, and investment opportunities, shaping the future of flying on the continent. So 2025 was an active year, and when you look back at it, it was really a year of recovery for the African Aviation partnership, being a focal point and transformation for African aviation. Now, what we could say is for sure a demand rise on passengers, and this shows the change of intent and the way Africans look at aviation as not only a luxury but a real means for transport. Now, African skies in 2025 weren't just reopening, they were evolving. And we will see what 2026 has in store. But if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and follow us. And we will see you in our next video. As always, we say kwaheri kwa leo, but before we let you go, we'll ask you this question. What do you think was the most important aviation milestone for Africa in 2025? And what should be the next one for 2026? Thank you very much for sticking to the end. Kwaheri kwa leo. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.